8 years ago was probably the biggest failure of my entrepreneurial career. I destroyed my best friend's business. And to this day, it is still the most painful of all my entrepreneurial successes and failures, all this experiences that I've amassed over the years. And I want to share with you three of the lessons that I took away from that experience. And I want to share this with you right now because I'm in the midst of another chaotic situation. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know, like one of my other businesses is burning to the ground actively as we speak. And that's just the nature of the game sometimes. But as you go through these periods of success and failure, I think it's critical that you take a moment to reflect and try to unpack and digest the lessons from that experience, because we learn far more from our failures than we do our successes. Because when you're successful, there is no reason to go and ask the hard questions. You got the result that you wanted, and so there's not a lot of incentive to dig deeper than that. But when you fail, well, failure is just a rich data stream from which we can gain new insights and gain new experiences, but only if we take the time to actually unpack it, and only if we take the right lessons away. That's another thing for another day. But let's talk about this. So I had come off the string of fairly successful ventures early in my career, and I got really lucky. I talk about this a lot in the podcast, is that honestly, I fell ass backwards into entrepreneurship, and it wasn't hard in the beginning. It just wasn't. For whatever reason, everything worked. The product, there was a demand for it. I had a natural skill as a salesperson, marketing. And so the first business grew like gangbusters despite my inexperience. And in a lot of ways, I got lucky, just right time, right place, right mentors, a lot of things. But it gave me this false sense of capacity or competency. And then the second business had a very similar trajectory. And it wasn't until I went and tried to help my friend with his business that I realized just how lucky I had been getting. And so I went into that experience, with just the youthful overconfidence that comes from having never actually gotten punched in the face. And so I stepped into his business to try and help him turn this thing around. And the first lesson that I had to learn the very hard way is that the closed mind doesn't grow. The closed mind doesn't grow. Because I went into that experience feeling like I knew everything, because I had kind of portrayed myself to my friend that I had all the answers, that it was all going to be okay. Don't worry, just trust me. I'm going to take care of this. This is going to be fine. It put me in this strange prison of my own making where I felt trapped and felt as though I was supposed to be the one that had all the answers. I was supposed to know how this whole thing worked. And so as I would inevitably come up against these barriers, these areas of the business that I had no experience, I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know how to turn it around. Instead of asking the questions, instead of seeking the answers, I kept bullheadedly going forward, just trying to figure it out on my own. And that can work, but it would have been so much easier if I would have had the humility to just admit, I don't know that particular answer. I don't even know the right question to be asking in that instance. There's some areas of the business that I knew very well, some areas that I didn't. And inevitably, the things that sink your ship are the areas that you don't know anything about, right? And so the closed mind doesn't grow. You have to keep an open mind. You have to keep asking questions at all different levels. And this is one of the things that I love about entrepreneurship, about business. And we've talked about this very frequently on this podcast, is that it's like the ultimate personal development vehicle. Because business is nothing more than the process of systematically revealing your own inadequacies. So the business is never going to grow beyond its biggest constraint. And in almost every instance, the biggest constraint in a business is you, your skills, your perspectives, your beliefs, your resources, your networks. It's you. And the more that you level up all of those different areas of you, the more the business is going to grow. But it's never going to outgrow you. The business will never outgrow the person sitting at the top. And I didn't realize that at the beginning. I didn't know that. And I thought it was just kind of a zero sum. Oh, I know how this game plays. I know how to win the game. And it's not a zero sum game that you learn the rules and the strategies to win one time and then you're good to go. It's an infinite game. There is no winning, in the same way that with marriage, you don't win marriage. The goal of the game isn't to win. The goal of the game is to keep playing and getting better over time. I didn't understand that at the time. And so I stopped growing. I stopped learning. I stopped asking questions because I thought I knew the rule set. I thought I knew how to win it, but I didn't understand that it was a game that's unwinnable in the first place. And so I went into it with the wrong mindset. And so as things started to fail, I couldn't understand why that was. So that's the first lesson, is the closed mind doesn't grow. The second lesson is that pride is a self-imposed prison. You know, the hardest prisons to break out of are the paper prisons that we create for ourselves in our own minds. The ones that we construct around our limiting beliefs that tell us this is who I am, this is what I was put here to do, this is the limit of my competency, I'm not that type of person, I'm this type of person. Those prisons that we build for ourselves, that construct, it's flimsy. And if you would just push against it one time, you would see that you could just punch a hole in the wall with barely any effort. You can punch a hole in any of the limiting beliefs that you have about yourself at any moment. But it's because we don't question those beliefs. It's because we don't question the structural integrity of the walls around us that we never think to even push against them. And so they stay erect and we stay inside of it because we never think to try to leave. It never occurs to us that the door might be unlocked, that nobody even is standing guard, that you could shed the limiting beliefs, that you could shed these things that you hold true about yourself or about the world. And it was because I was trapped in that place of thinking this is the way the world works. I never pushed against the cage I had created for myself. And as a result, success in that business would have been as simple as asking for help, asking the right person for help. And I know it now because I know who that right person would have been. And I know the questions that I could have asked then. And it would have changed everything. But I didn't ever try to open the door. And when you don't even try to open the door, it might as well be locked. And so pride is the self-imposed prison. And often we stay inside of that prison that we've created for ourselves, that we've erected around our limiting beliefs, because we're proud of that person inside. And, you know, you might see the potential to grow and step outside of yourself and for improvement to move towards your greatness, but it's scary. It's scary to do that and to leave the comfort of your little prison. But you will, if you stay in that prison, only look back with regret. You will look back because eventually you will outgrow it one way or the other. Eventually you will push up against it and it'll just be a matter of how late in the game it is before you finally decide enough is enough. For some people that happens when they're 22. Some people it's when they're 46 and it's a midlife crisis. But for most people, it's when they're on their deathbed. They're at the very end, they look back over the trajectory of their life and they realize they played small. They stayed trapped and they had nobody to blame for it but themselves. So that's the second lesson that I took away. Pride is a self-imposed prison. Number 3 is that expectations are the root of all discontent. Expectations. I was talking about this with a buddy that I was chatting with yesterday. It's a very Buddhist concept, is that the entirety of man's discontent exists in the delta between his expectations and reality. If you had no expectations of the world of results of other people, you would never be disappointed. You would never be frustrated. You would never be upset. If you had no expectations and you just lived in the present moment that is reality in this current moment, there would be nothing to be upset about. It just is what it is. Oh, it's cold in here. I'm not upset about that because it just is what it is. I had no expectation that it would be warm. Oh, it smells weird in here. Cool. No expectation that it wouldn't smell weird. If you live in the reality as it is rather than projecting your expectations of the reality, there is nothing to be discontent about. Now, I share that because in the context of this business, what I found is that I had this expectation that I could do everything, that I had the skills, the capacity, the resources to fix this thing, and that it was simply a matter of trying harder. I had this expectation that this was fixable given my own exertion of energy. And that put me into this interesting position where I didn't feel as though I could ask for help. I couldn't build a team. I couldn't delegate. I couldn't entrust anybody with anything else. And so I tried to do it all and hold it all together myself. And so you can just imagine stepping into this environment where, I have these expectations that I'm going to fix everything. I'm the hot dog. I'm the golden child. I got all the answers. And then as things start slipping and falling apart and coming to terms with the fact that maybe I'm not all that I could be, it just made it even harder because I was doing it all alone. Instead of actually looking outside myself and realizing that it's not weakness to ask for help. It's not weakness to build a team. It doesn't show that you're incapable of doing the thing, that it's not about that. I had so much ego around being the one to fix the thing. And I can't remember who said it, but it's a great line, is that you can accomplish, or he said, what did he say? It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets credit. I cared about who got credit. And so we accomplished very little. And so those are 3 lessons that I think about a lot. And thankfully, I have not made those 3 mistakes since. However, I continue to make new and more interesting mistakes, and I will share with you those in the future. But in the meantime, that is all I got. If you are building a business and you are doing somewhere in the range of 100,000 to 1 million, and you would like some help scaling and avoiding some of the pitfalls, some of the traps, the limiting beliefs that I have fallen into over the years, then go to beyondtheapex.com and you can fill out a little application there to join our group coaching program, where I work with entrepreneurs just like you to build a business that you love without losing your mind, and that can, in a perfect world, maximize your return on life. That sounds like you. Go to beyondtheapex.com. Go sign up. Otherwise, stick around. Keep consuming the podcast. Let me know if you like it. Tag me. Take a screenshot and tag me in it. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.